Recording.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Drop Third Strike with myself, Terry Gant in Chicago, Illinois, and my co-host, Beth Stofka in Denver, Colorado. And we've got postseason baseball to talk about.
We do indeed. And yes, welcome to episode 11.
This is fantastic.
I'd say we have some consistency.
Yes.
And some persistence. And so, yeah, so we've got all the good qualities of good baseball players.
And this has been like a hell of a week of postseason stuff. So I watched two games effectively. I watched the first game between the Rays and the Astros. So I watched game one. That was Monday night, I guess, or Monday day, because I was home for that. And that was a good game. Like, I enjoyed that, you know, and let me tell you, like, the defense of the Rays, like, was all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, my dude Margot, like, going over the wall to get balls and, like, flipping over, like, oh, okay. When people, like, we were talking about this with Aldi DeRose last week, like, when people say baseball is boring, it's like, you know, it's like someone heard us, right? Show the things that really show that the game isn't actually boring because things are happening. And there was a guy right there that like no one's heard of until this year, basically selling out to make a play and flipping over some rail or something to catch a ball. Like, that's cool. All right, do that. And then this morning,
to me like you went head first. That's
he did
to me. And so when he came up, I thought, okay, good, you caught it. But are you still alive? Can you? Still
are you okay?
Yeah.
And this is like in baseball, we have the thing where like in other sports, the dimensions of the field are uniform. Right, the court in basketball is uniform. The field on a football field is uniform. They're the same thing. Dimensions of the building can be different, but the dimensions of the court are the same. The playing surface is the same. In baseball, there's no uniform playing surface, right? So you that guy has to be asking himself, who the hell put a stairwell here? Like, what is this here for? Why am I disappearing from the field's view, from the field of play, falling like 12 feet? After I catch a fly ball? What the hell is this all about, you know? So like,
he had really beautiful form. It led to some gorgeous photographs. And I was thinking like, okay, how much did that have to do with athleticism? And how much did that have to do with momentum? Because I mean, his legs circled over.
Yes.
In this
like he was doing a cartwheel.
Yeah. There was no like wobbly going on, it was just like, whoo, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was
a lot of times when like first baseman and third baseman trying to catch like a foul ball and they're running towards the stands, and then they'll hit the wall, the little like the dividing wall, or they'll flip over the tarp, and they'll do it real clumsily, like it's like, oh man, a circus bear just went rolling into the crowd, right? It's what it looks like a lot of times. And this dude just kind of cartwheeled over the wall, disappeared. Oh, he came back. He's got the ball. Look at that. I was like, this guy, I'd be mad as hell. I'd be like, okay, who designed this crap?
Yeah, it was circus because it was a cartwheel followed by a jack in the box, And
yes.
They're like, I got it. Which, I know he has to show that so that everybody knows that he made the catch, but it's still just glorious. I got it.
Yes.
Yes, you did. And next thing you know, he's surrounded by three guys who are helping him walk.
Yep. Absolutely. Because he did catch the ball, but that landing on the other side, now that's not grass. No one planted grass in the stairwell he's falling down into. There's no soft turf there, and that's just concrete, I bet. Like this is unfair. Like, man, what's this guy got to do to survive showing up to work? Nobody hit the ball. Like when we played softball, we didn't have enough guys. We like close off a field, so anyone who hit a ball to that field is automatically out. Like, we would say we don't have a left fielder, so nobody hit the ball to left field. Usually it would be right field because everybody's right-handed. You're all going to pull to left field. So nobody hit the ball to right field. If you hit the ball to right field, it's an automatic out, okay? We don't have enough players. Somebody should be like, nobody hit the ball to right field because there's a stairwell in the middle of the damn foul line. So if you hit the ball down there, it's an automatic out.
Steve and I had, I think it might have been Monday that Steve and I talked about that. And I asked him if it would be possible to have a left-handed right fielder. Now, I meant to look that up to see if there ever was such a thing. I know it's not ideal, and it seems to me that if you are left-handed, they're going to play you in left field. They're not going to put you in right field, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I did actually mean to look that up. That's the 11th installment of Beth meant to look that up. But
To the Legion of Fan, what is basically being said here is, depending on what hand you are dominant with, it does have to do a lot of times where you end up playing on a baseball field. If you are right-handed like I am, it is likely that I will be playing center field or left field, because I'm going to catch with my left hand, throw with my right hand. So if balls are hit to my right, I'm going to run and have to, kind of backhand them to catch them, or get under them and catch them with my left hand, but then throw with my right hand towards the base. If I'm a right-handed right fielder, I'm going to have to be ready to run to my left with my glove hand out to catch balls, right? Or run to my right if things are towards center field. That's a little easier play for me. But a left-handed left fielder means as balls are tailing away from him, a left-handed right fielder would mean that as balls are tailing away from him, he now has to glove side with his right hand across his body, right? Running, like, which is just harder to do.
Every one of your plays, you're going to look like Margot.
Yes.
Right?
There's a lot of that.
Always going to be cartwheeling over walls if you're
yes.
trying to catch with your left hand.
Yes.
In right field, right? No,
yes,
right hand.
Right hand. You're right. You be catching with your right hand. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm getting it. Yeah, I mean, even Legion of Fan, if you're really rudimentary, like I sometimes am, with my poor three-dimensional thinking, left field is the one that's to your left from home.
Yes, correct. When you're looking at it from the batter's box, left field is to your left.
Yeah, I mean, if you're poor or you're broke and you're sitting out in the stands behind center field, left field is to your right.
Yes, it is not the right field.
Right, so it's not from the fans' point of view necessarily. It's from the batter's box.
Absolutely.
So now I'm imagining myself a left-handed person out in right field. Yes, and so I've got a glove on my right hand here, and I'm out there, and okay, so there is the mound, right?
Yes.
There is the batter's box. Here comes the ball, but it's going this way, and so I'm running like this, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So yes, I'm going to go over every wall there is. I'm going to be. Well, sometimes you see these guys. They just turn and run flat out, face to the wall, right? But yeah, it would be to my mind super inconvenient to be a left-handed right fielder.
Yes. You'd rather be a right-handed right fielder so that you can run towards the wall but still be looking at the ball.
Yes.
With your body open, so you can just reach out to catch the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And trust that if you have to do it the opposite way, where you're running towards the ball towards center field, you have a person there who can actually make that play, right? And he is probably faster than you. Okay,
so what's better for center field, right or left hand?
Well, I'm right-handed and I've played center field. So like I think that it has worked out perfectly fine for me. And I was also very fast. So you end up with, on teams that I played on, the person who with the best hands would be in left field, because most batters are not trained in terms of like how to hit balls where. I could do it, but a lot of guys can't do it. So a lot of people therefore are going to be pull hitters, and the majority of players being right-handed, they're going to hit the ball to left field. So you want the person with the best hands in left field.
Okay.
They're going to see the most action in the outfield. Their balls are coming to them, right? Right. If it's something they can't get to, right, because they're not necessarily the fastest person, you have a fast center fielder to help them out, right? That's the benefit of that, right? And then the person with absolutely not the best hands ends up in right field, because only left-handed hitters are going to be hitting balls in that direction. There's less of them. He's going to see less action, but hopefully he doesn't die, right? Like trying to be athletic. Because if he had better hands, he wouldn't be in right field. If he had better hands, he would be at first base.
Right.
Or third base. You know what I mean? He would be someplace else.
Fun fact, I haven't played either baseball or softball since I graduated high school, which is several lifetimes ago. And because I was bad, they always put me in right field, but I'm also left-handed. So that was always that was always interesting. The good news is I was good at catching balls. That's the really good news.
Yes.
The bad news is I didn't have a strong throwing arm, right?
Yes.
So so definitely they would put me out there hoping that the least likely thing to happen was that a ball would go to right field.
Excellent. I'm trying to see if I can do anything. Something on my end is definitely trying to stop my video, but my video's still coming back. Oh, damn it.
As long as it's coming back. So So, so what they really could have done in my high school playing days
Yeah.
was introduce the shift,
Yes.
because that way the third baseman in Manny Machado's case, or the shortstop in Carlos Correa's case, could have just caught all the balls for me in right field.
Yes.
I could have just, tried to look useful. And that would have been great. And that actually happened. I think it was last night where Carlos Correa, they were playing such a shift that he caught the ball in right field, and Josh Reddick was all pat him on the back and they ran in together. It was a very fun play, and that's always a very fun thing when it's so out of the ordinary. And they were talking about it. Look at that. Carlos Correa, the shortstop, made a catch in right field. And I'm like, yeah, but Manny Machado made one too. And he's a third baseman. He did it twice. And that's how one-upmanship starts, right? It's like, no, you can't. Carlos Correa can't impress me with that play, because my man Manny did it twice. He did it so well, I got confused and thought they'd moved him to right field permanently. So, so that was a great game that you watched. And so I did my best to watch all the games. I really gave it my very best. And it was helpful that they started later in the day, because mostly I control my own time. So if I start really early, I can put in a whole day, and then, maybe put the game on at 2, but it's just behind me and it's in the background, and I can finish up my workday. But then I can get to the baseball, right?
Yes.
And so I mostly saw them. Sometimes I saw them when I was cheating a bit, because I had to go to a conference this last week, and so that makes it nice. You can kind of sort of be at the conference, but you're actually watching baseball. And so I feel like I saw a lot of baseball. I feel like I saw a lot of these series in a distracted way. But I did see the game, I can't tell you which one, where the Rays defense, the one where Kiermaier got hurt, where the Rays defense was absolutely everywhere. It was just so worth watching. It was so worth watching because the Astros were so frustrated. They kept thinking, I've got this. And then, nope, you don't, because these guys, they were just coming out of nowhere. There was not anything in the outfield that would land, nothing. And they couldn't get it over because they couldn't get it out of the park. So the Astros were thoroughly frustrated. It was wonderful to watch. And it was even more amazing because on his second ridiculously extraordinary catch, Kiermaier hurt himself. No, he didn't. No, he got hit on the hand by a pitch. That's what happened.
Yeah,
he was out there making ridiculous catches and he got hit on the hand. And of course, you immediately think, hey, did they do that on purpose? And I wouldn't put it past anybody, but you don't know, right? And that's on every team. That's not the Astros.
And most of the pitchers who are going to hit somebody, they don't really have the precision to hit them in the hands. They kind of have the precision to hit them. They aim for the bigger parts, like their butt.
Right. Yeah.
Baseball players have big butts, so it's like that's where they end up throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think they'd be able to, but like you can't tell where a guy's hands are going to end up when they're swinging.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's
more than likely just aim for their butts.
You can really only do revenge. You can only clobber a guy with a ball out of revenge, but not tactically remove him from the game.
Yes.
Yeah. So out goes Kiermaier, and I'm sure that all the Astros hitters went, "Oh, God, he's not there anymore. Now it's Hunter Renfroe." Except that was also making like crazy, ridiculous good catches.
The second player in the league named Hunter Renfroe.
Yeah.
The other Hunter Renfroe.
The other Hunter Renfroe, yes. And it just everybody take notice. The other Hunter Renfroe. And I heard a cliche, or at least we'll call it a baseball proverb. Somebody tweeted it, but I guess it's been around for a long time. I'd never heard it, which was 70% of the earth is covered by water and the rest is covered by the Rays defense.
Yes.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That was a good one. I'm going to remember that one forever.
Because they got to everything. There was no place that the Astros batters could put the ball to get on base. It just couldn't happen. It was wonderful to watch. And that game, I'm actually probably going to go back and watch again when I can give it my full attention and maybe even score it to really record it. But if I were going to score a game, it would be the one from last night. Okay.
That was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And I was clued in for several reasons. One is that I so wanted the Rays to win.
Yep.
And, when it's
and it's a game 7.
It's a 1-game series at that point.
Yep.
So you can't say, oh, well, Tampa got X number of wins based on X number of plays, and Astros, you can't, there's no favorite. It's total 50-50. Anybody could win that game. Either team could have won that game. And but I really wanted the Rays to win. So I was very keyed into it for that reason. I was very keyed into it because it's not often that a championship series goes to a game 7.
Right.
So how exciting, and how just how epic. That's an epic moment for any sports fan. Also because Charlie Morton is one of my former Pirates, and also
a former Astro.
Huh?
And a former Astro.
Yeah, but I was ignoring that part.
Okay, I see.
Until he was getting so ridiculously good that I started to wonder if it wasn't a factor. I'm not sure, but but for sure he was a former Pirate, and
Yes.
And he's on our senior league team. So
Yes, he is.
our senior menu team. So because he and then to top it all off, during the broadcast, I found out that he's also a musician, and that he's such a great guy that he's everybody's favorite in the clubhouse. So I'm just all about Charlie Morton at this point. So about Charlie Morton. And I was lucky for all of those reasons that I was paying attention like that, because his ERA was, well, it went from 0.0 to 0.5.
Yes.
You know, the Astros were just stymied. That was it. They hit a Charlie Morton shaped wall, and nothing was going to happen.
Yep. That's fantastic.
It is. Did you see?
I thought, and it's also like Charlie Morton was also hurt for a good chunk of the year too.
Yes,
so
that's
like
right.
if guys that come back from injury who are a little older, who, you know, I don't know, like Charlie Morton being the age he is, it's almost like you don't know how much longer you're going to get to do this.
Right.
So you need to win now.
Right.
Because if nothing else, the Rays are more than likely not going to retain you next year. So
Right.
you're basically either you're pitching either before you retire, or you're pitching for your next job. And guys like that, I want to see. Like he's not like a Justin Verlander, who's had such a career, like a long career filled with success, whether he won championships or not. So at some point, here comes the big fat payday for him, because he's Justin Verlander. It's more like Zach Greinke or some of these other guys. He's Charlie Morton, so he's an ace on the Rays, perhaps, you know, but he might not be the ace on if he were to play for the Dodgers next year. He clearly would not be, right?
Clearly, yeah.
He wouldn't be the ace on several other teams with playoffs. That he might be the best pitcher in Philadelphia. It depends on how things break there, right? But like you want the best for the dude, because you know next year, wherever he goes, he's really, right now he's pitching for next year. You know, because there's a chance that if the Rays win, people got to get paid, and the Rays can't afford to pay people. Right. So, you know, this Rays team might not be together.
Right. Well, the Twins need pitching.
The Twins do need pitching. Charlie Morton can go to the Twins.
We're still fixing the Twins.
Yes, Charlie Morton and George Springer to the Twins.
Well, yeah. George Springer was a lot of fun to watch during this series, but I was actually watching him, imagining him in a Twins uniform. And I was kind of having a hard time with it. And I think it's because I'm just still having a really hard time. Again, not so much with the cheating. I mean, of course, that was a terrible thing to do. But how unique, I don't know. I mean, I would, trying to get an edge. Why wouldn't you? This is competition, right?
Yes.
But it was the putting it up your nose business afterwards that made it pretty hard.
Which I'm gonna say I saw mostly from like Jose Altuve.
That's true.
Right? Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman. Mostly Jose Altuve was the most chirpy about what they're capable of doing and how everybody's making a bigger deal of it. And really, as soon as people mention, you know, the players didn't get penalized. The manager lost his job, you know, like got suspended or whatever, or got fired. And the general manager and all that. Like, it's like, man, a lot of people got affected by this thing, but the players tend to really got to just go back out and play. But then being smug about it just doesn't seem like the right move.
Not at all.
So you want them to just shut up already, you know? But Springer didn't have a lot to say. Springer just went out and played baseball, you know?
Yep, that's true. That's true. And we did talk earlier in our season about the effect of not having access to video on all these different players, you know, and most notably Nelson Cruz and Javier Baez. And, you know, they owe their fellow players an apology.
Right.
And I mean, not only do they owe the fans an apology, but which I think is the biggest thing. They owe me an apology. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think they really owe the fans an apology. Not apologizing puts the fans in the position of either doubling down and being like super pro Astros when it doesn't look good, or they have to just become so alienated that they're just actively rooting for a team to just fail, which is kind of where I went. And I was kind of really struggling with Altuve's slump because everybody says he's so nice and has said, you can have two feelings. You can be very upset with the Astros for what they did, and you can see that as a you can just. I mean, of course, hopefully you're going to feel that was a bad thing, and hopefully you're going to have trouble getting past it. But at the same time, you can understand what a good guy Altuve is and how really painful and miserable this series was for him. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't actively dislike him either, but I thought, well,
I felt like they don't owe me an apology. I didn't feel like they owed me an apology until the point at which I considered that based on what they'd done, it affected how other people enjoy or not players in their own cities who had to change how they did it.
Yes.
Right? The Cubs season is affected by the adjustments they could or could not make based on what the Astros did.
Yes.
Right. And that, so to Cubs fans, you're going through growing pains all over again because the rules have to be rewritten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of what the Astros did do. I don't care that they did it. I care about the smugness, and I care about how other people had to suffer because of the fallout of this thing. Like that's kind of like it's two different things in a way, but that's just, I guess that's kind of where I'm at. I don't need an apology, but I think that really you should have something to say other than we didn't really do anything wrong. Like, okay, I might believe you didn't do anything wrong, bro, but like what you did do had this fallout that has affected a lot of other players.
Yeah.
You didn't do what you did, but now they got to look for an edge now too, or a way to just come back, right? You affected Javier Baez's paycheck.
Uh-huh.
Perhaps, you affected Nelson Cruz's paycheck, perhaps.
Yeah.
You may have affected like other guys who had down seasons that you just didn't expect. You didn't see this coming for them.
Yeah.
Like the down season might be entirely based on everyone's routine being different. And during a year we're already dealing with COVID-19, we don't also want to deal with smug ass players who are like, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
We're just going to beat everybody and then we'll show you. All right, great. Beat everybody if you're going to beat everybody. But like, you might also want to be like, hey, yeah, look, maybe we went so far. We were thinking we just want to win games, but we weren't expecting that the fallout of that would be jacking everybody up. It's one thing when it's the Boston Red Sox and their Apple Watches, right? The rule just becomes you can't use an Apple Watch, right? It's another thing when it's like, wait, now we can't use video? Like we can't do in-game adjustments? What the shit? Come on, man. That's like doing something in which they make a rule, now you can't wear batting gloves. So like half the league ends up with blisters, Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, wait, what? Because these dudes wore some special ass glove that, was tighter on their hands, that kept their hands warmer and gave them an advantage. Shit, now we can't use batting? What? Like that's how like that part I feel like, you might need to speak on that because you did a thing that really did affect other people. So how they go to work every day, how they perform at work. Like that matters. You're jacking with people's heads for an entire damn season.
Yeah. Well, and with the fans on that, because one of the things that's so much fun to watch is in-game adjustments.
Yes.
You take away our pleasure in that part of the game. I'm going to stick with it. I think they owe me an apology.
Yeah.
And a sincere one, all you want to do is see the remorse, and not the smugness. Just say, yeah, man. Wow.
And you know what? You're going to get an apology, but you're going to get it when the team is broken up. Everybody on that team is going to go to some other team, right? And then they're going to be asked about it. They're going to answer for it. And when Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman aren't together anymore, this is when it always happens. This is when people have to speak on a thing that as a unit, they kind of circled the wagons on.
Yeah.
Right. But now you're in another clubhouse answering to some dudes who are like bigger than you, who want to, beat the shit out of you, or like a fan base that fan base will cheer you once you hit your first home run. Right. But until that point, man, like let's say they go play in New York. Well, hell, the Mets didn't get a manager out of it. right?
Right.
Like there's issues here.
Yeah.
You know, everybody
Yeah.
thought Carlos Beltran would be a future manager, and that dude got fired before he was introduced and then fired right after it.
Yeah.
Man, like that's wow. Like, you know, that's kind of that's a bitch right there.
So
You know?
you can almost see like if okay, I'm picturing Alex Bregman
Yep.
with the Cubs.
Yes, I
What
would
do you
love
think
it.
that clubhouse is like?
I think that the first thing that happens is like you there are clubhouse leaders there who will be like, you're gonna have to speak about it. Like your Jason Haywards of the world and your Anthony Rizzo's of the world are gonna have to like they're gonna get to that dude and be like, you're gonna have to speak about it. There's gonna be guys like Wilson Contreras who are going to probably try to murder him, right? So like you're gonna have a clubhouse where people are gonna be like, hey, look, listen, here's how you handle it. So handle it already,
Yeah.
right? Handle it. Because everybody, these baseball clubhouses aren't full of saints,
Yeah.
right? They're full of people who've done some things, who got skeletons in the closet. I think everybody understands that.
Yeah.
But when you need your new teammates to go to bat for you now, you know, and like kind of have your back here, this will only happen if you come into the clubhouse and you're like, hey, my bad. Listen, here's what went down. Sorry, guys. You know, I'm a different guy now, you know. Because honestly, during the steroid era, that was the thing that saved some people, was like some players being like, yeah, look, this is what they say about me, but this is who I really am. You know, I'll show you guys, you know, and then teammates being like, no, I'm with that dude now.
Yeah.
He's our guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I'd be the same way. That's precise. That's human psychology. It raised kind of an interesting point for me, you know, circling the wagons. How has that mentality ever helped a baseball team? I know that's a softball, but it didn't help the Astros unless it helped them get this far.
I think every year it probably helps the Astros in a way. Like when you watch how the Astros and the Dodgers, let's say, you watch those specific teams and the White Sox, you watch how they interact with each other, right? The bond that they have with each other.
Yeah.
And you realize that when some teams decide that it is all about the 27 guys on that roster and nothing else, they get pretty far thinking that way, right? The problem you have though is when you're struggling, right? Sometimes when the struggles begin, then it's like now some of that smug, if it goes over to that, now it comes back to haunt you.
Yeah.
Right? It comes back to haunt you. Like it's one thing, like, you know, they say it all the time about coaches and managers. They tell their players nobody respects you, right? They don't expect you to win. Nobody respects you. Look at that. They're out there writing all this stuff about you. They don't think you belong here. And then teams putting that up on the bulletin board and using that as fuel, right? Well, it only works when you haven't won a World Series, right? The Astros already won a damn World Series. The core of that team is still intact. They don't respect you isn't the issue,
right?
They hate you is the issue, right? It's not about respect. Now they're pissed off at you, right? They'll respect your talent, but they think you're bad human beings.
Yeah.
Like now you rally around, they think you're bad human beings is a bad look.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, not the same thing, you know? The Dodgers, their whole thing has been like, we deserve to be there. The Astros stole it from us, and I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Steal it from you. They beat you, right? Like the Astros only won the 1 year. The other year, someone beat them.
Right.
You got beat not by you got beat by the Astros. Like they're an American League team, but some of these other years, Dodgers, you got beat by a National League team. You know, like that's not on the Astros, right? So make your rallying about like how you play together and change your philosophy about what you do on the field so that you together can do a thing. Like the Astros, the Dodgers with Mookie Betts, they celebrate small ball when they have to play small ball.
Right.
You know, like that's what Mookie Betts brought to them. He can hit a 3-run homer. You know, he can also steal you a hell of a lot of bases, and he can also go from first to third. Like that team changes their philosophy depending on what game they're in, and that's a thing you do together, right? I like that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And I think that's maybe more of a winning kind of mentality. Yeah, that the circling the wagons thing, can take you pretty far, but if you go all the way with it, it's probably because the other team, you know, didn't do its best.
When we watch the game, so the game that happened the other day, the 15 runs in the first inning game or whatever,
Yeah.
the game where you didn't want to tell me what was happening in the game. You
Right.
were texting me and you're like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And you're like, I don't want to tell you. So I watched that this morning. So you would think 15 runs, 11 runs in the first inning or 15 runs in the first inning, whatever it was a lot of fucking runs. But you would think it's because some team is just hitting the ball out of the park constantly. It wasn't that, right?
Yeah.
It starts with Mookie Betts running out a ball to first base.
Right.
Like literally the first guy in the game gets on base on basically an infield hit. He didn't hit the ball out of the ballpark, right? He ends up on third damn base with another batter, right? Like Mookie Betts starts with literal small ball, and then you discover that the poor rookie pitcher, who's I think his name is Kyle Wright, for the Atlanta Braves. This kid had two things happening, right? He couldn't make the ball reach the plate. He was just wild. He was all these pitches. If they're getting to the plate, they're in the dirt. You know, thankfully Travis d'Arnaud was blocking everything he possibly could. Yeah. And if he wasn't throwing wild balls into the dirt, he was missing the plate high and outside or inside, right? Just high. And at some point, what is happening is he is walking people, and then the Dodgers are just taking advantage of it by hitting the ball where there is not a defender. And it was just simple. Yes, there was a grand slam, absolutely. But there was already runs on the board by the time the grand slams happened, right? It was like they hit singles that scored people. Yeah. Right? They hit doubles that scored people. And you do that based on the fact that you know the pitcher, if he's wild, he's got to throw something over the plate just to make anything happen. Yeah. Right? And that's how they did it. And it's sometimes guys in games like that, they just come up swinging for the fences, and therefore now they're getting out, right? They're popping the ball up because they want to be a part of the scoring so much. They're just going to swing as hard as they can at everything that they see. Lots of pop-ups, and then you will be out of an inning before you know it, right? These guys weren't doing that. There was a lot of shortened strokes. There were a lot of hard hit balls, right? Yeah. But there was some that were just like dropping in front of the center fielder, right? When you're doing that kind of thing, it's like, no, we're just going to keep getting hits, right? And if you're the Dodgers, you could think I'm just going to come up and club everything out into the parking lot. But they only clubbed it into the parking lot if you threw them something that they couldn't pass up. Right. But if you were throwing them something that you're just going to hit over the third baseman's head, they did that. That's a type of plate discipline and approach Dodgers had that was actually just pretty professional. And I felt bad for poor rookie pitcher kid, but I think it also shows that, like, you know, teams next year are going to absolutely try to go get themselves. Somebody's going to try to turn Charlie Morton into their all-star third pitcher. Yeah. You know, getting yourself to the playoffs with two legit pitchers is not a good idea. Right. Right? Because you're going to have to trust some rookie kid to go out there and give you 98 pitches in the first damn inning, which, what? That's a lot of pitches, you know? Okay, you have to forgive me for not wanting to spoil that for you, because that was pretty incredible. That was worthy of finding out on your own, which is pretty much what happened to me, because I came into that game late, aforementioned work schedule, right? And I have YouTube TV. Yep. So that has a feature where if you select the game from the live menu, then it asks you if you want to join in process or if you want to catch up with key plays. And I think I was like 45 minutes past the start time. I'm not sure. So I thought, I better catch up with key plays. And that's how I saw the first inning. And that's which is how I watched the game this morning, because MLB Network is replaying the game, but they're replaying it in the key without like giving you the whole game. They're giving you just the key plays. Yeah. And I was like, well, all right. Yeah, right. I see. You know? That's when I texted you OMFG, because, you know, the first one, I thought that YouTube had hung somehow, that like the app wasn't working because the key plays were just like one, and there's all this stuff going on. But it says 1 of 7, right? And you know, I think I just saw 7 key plays, so this must be stuck. So so I backed out, went back in, and it was like, no. So then I ended up watching it, and I realized what I was watching was just run after run after run, the score just mounting in this absolutely ridiculous way. I was thinking about the Braves like 29 run win earlier in the season, and I was thinking, okay, this could happen, but this is the playoffs. This is just absurd. What is going on? Then you know they took the rookie kid out, and they put the they put in the next pitcher, and it's like, well, the next pitcher gives up runs.
Yeah.
You know, like, man, all right, the rookie kid, you just feel better. It wasn't all on you, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, the Dodgers were finally whatever. I mean, I thought they looked terrible up to that game. I thought they looked confused, almost like they were their own worst enemies, you know, just like you know, just like stuffed with cotton or something. They just didn't seem to have any kind of spark, any kind of life. Nothing was effective that they were doing. And I just thought, man, these are the Dodgers. I thought these guys were a good team, right? And then boom. And I said, well, okay, so at least they've just demonstrated to themselves that they have fire.
Yes.
Which we really needed to see. We really needed to see them come up with some fire.
And in our next game, what ends up happening? In our next game, you know, the Atlanta Braves answer. Yeah,
exactly. Like in one inning, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of those games too. There's been a lot of those games. And so, yeah, the run spread, you know, like 7-3, 15-2 or 15-3, whatever, you know, there's been a big gap. Like one of the teams has scored a lot of runs and the other team has scored a credible number of runs.
Yes.
And until last night's game or yesterday's game, you know, which was finally a close, tight game, which was good to see finally, you know, because the Braves just are hard to beat. That's the one thing I can draw from this week's NLCS is that the Braves are really hard to beat.
They're hard to beat.
Yeah. And that's funny because I didn't expect that. I thought, I don't know, I had a sense of balance. I didn't have a sense that either team was an underdog. And about 2 games in, I'm like, man, Dodgers are the underdogs here. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
There's game 7 tonight.
Yep. We should talk about Kershaw.
Okay.
So we actually talking about Kershaw means talking about Dave Roberts. To me, that's really what we got to talk about, because this is turning into a pattern where I don't know why or why not. I don't want to speculate, but Kershaw certainly hasn't won his playoff starts.
Right.
He's not your go-to guy if it's a big game. And yet he is Kershaw. So he's this huge historic deal. You know, one of the greatest pitchers ever to play the game.
Yes.
Lots of money. Supposedly the ace. A legendary team. And here's Dave Roberts having to put somebody on the mound tonight. And I wonder if this didn't happen to him last year too, and maybe even the year before, where it's like, this guy cannot win this game for us, but I have to put him on the mound.
Yes.
I wonder if he's in that situation. Or actually, there's no way of knowing, but how would I be? I would be facing a tough time if it were me.
I think that Clayton Kershaw is in the position of similar to John Lester of the Cubs, which is he is the dude whose reputation says this is the guy you have to go with. He's your ace, right? But as time goes on, I think he wears down. Mm-hmm. And what you're looking for is ways to give him rest during the year so that when we get to the postseason, he's rested.
Yeah.
I think that what managers like Dave Roberts are having to do is figure out where to get him his rest. And Clayton Kershaw doesn't want to come out of games. He doesn't want to miss starts. He doesn't want, you know what I mean? Like he wants the ball. And I think this is the mistake. What you need is an extra guy that you can run out there. So Clayton Kershaw will miss 5 starts, right? You should plan that he missed 5 starts so that when we get to the postseason, that dude is in August form and not in October. You know what I mean? So it's not like his arm is dead or his knees hurt or his shoulders are tired or his eyesight's going, right? You need him to have made less starts in the year, not due to injury, right? But due to making sure that he is ready to go at the end of the season. You will have somebody else be the ace, right? And then Clayton Kershaw is going to be that dude that you bring in when you need to lock it down.
Yeah.
Right? In game 7, your brain is telling you it's got to be Clayton Kershaw, right? Ideally, what you want in game 7, you should have a pitcher on your staff who's better, who is now your ace. Clayton Kershaw should not be your ace anymore, right? Clayton Kershaw should be your number 2, right? And your ace will take the mound on game 7. And if you need to, in the 5th inning, you bring Clayton Kershaw's ass in to lock it down. And if you can't understand that the man is not what he used to be, you're in trouble because the whole team is basically looking at him like, save it, make it happen for us, Clayton. Go out there and hold these guys to 1 run or less in a game 7. Good luck with that because the other team is the best team from the other league, right? They can hit you. And they've got plenty of film on you because you've been pitching for 12 years, right? You aren't sneaking up on anybody here. They know your tendencies, and they know that in the postseason you're wearing down. So you got to do what you got to do to keep this. In basketball, it's referred to as load management, right? Load management. Manage this man's load. Manage how many innings, manage how many starts, manage everything, how many pitches, and don't do it. Don't let him tell you I'm good. I can go 7, I can go 8. His days of doing that should be done.
Yep.
Right. And if it in free agents, where's your Zach Greinke? Where's your Zach Greinke, who is your guy who starts before Kershaw starts? You don't have that right now. You got good pitchers on your team, but they're all looking to Clayton Kershaw like he's the number 1 guy.
Right.
Right. Clayton Kershaw should be your number 3 guy at this stage in his career. So your priority in the offseason should be go steal someone else's best pitchers. Right. So you aren't relying on Kershaw to do the thing for you until the postseason comes along. And now Kershaw is nice and rested. You think he's still mad at you because you caused him to miss 1 start a month through the season? No, he's not still mad at you because now he feels great. And now he's going to win you games in the post damn season.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't done it so far. And I think the reason he hasn't done it so far is because Clayton Kershaw ain't Clayton Kershaw by the time you get to October.
Yeah. And if I were Kershaw, I would feel like I had something to prove. And yet I'm not able to prove it because my body won't let me do it.
Yep.
And that's a terrible place to be in because there's no mind over matter when it comes to your body just literally saying, no, I'm not doing this, you know?
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. So have the Dodgers announced their starter for tonight?
I don't know. Let's see. To the internet.
To the internet.
I think I was just watching that one game and then like a lot of things, it's like everything's happening right before we all start recording. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Then let's see what our information is.
I gave you screen sharing in case you want it.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Though I don't know, with my camera not working, I hope I can still share my damn screen.
I think we did that before when your camera failed and we just put up the bracket.
Yeah.
But maybe that was me. Maybe you put it in chat.
All right, let's see. Braves, Dodgers meeting games. You know, there's a lot of the MLB website. There's so much data on it. Boy, I don't know who designed their site, but there's so much crap happening all at the same time.
It's really, it's mind-boggling. Yeah, we know Ian Anderson is going to be. We have 12 hours ago that the Dodgers were pondering options.
Yes.
I don't know if Ian Anderson really has any weaknesses.
Right. Okay. Get off of MLB site. Just trying to load every damn thing in the world.
The Dodgers haven't announced their starter. That is from 1:07 a.m. So no updates at MLB.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I see. 12 hours ago.
Yeah. Let me see.
So not Dustin May.
Yep. Gonsolin.
Who, if not for COVID, probably would have been played this year.
Gonsolin or Dustin May.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Gonsolin's good.
It's hard. It's hard. I really want to. I don't know who will win tonight.
Like, I think it's you start Gonsolin and then in the 3rd inning you bring in Kershaw.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
By then Kershaw's got the lay of the land. Yep.
The game has begun. We know what's going on or not going on.
Right.
If you're the Dodgers, that's what you got to do.
Right.
I'm not even asking Gonsolin to go 4. If he goes 4, great. Like if we've held our opponent to 2 runs or less, right? Fine. Now here comes Clayton Kershaw. You know? So
I have this feeling, and I want to know if you have it too, where even though this is a game 7 of the National League Championship Series, game 7, whoever wins it goes to play in the World Series.
Yes.
With that setup, I think it's very strange that I think of this as a must-win game for the Dodgers.
Well, you think of it as a must-win game for the Dodgers because you don't want the Atlanta baseball team to have to, you don't want to deal with some of the things.
That's true. That's really true. I guess I really need the Dodgers to win this for me.
I think that with limited fans, I'm gonna hope everybody behaves themselves should the Braves win, and then we don't have to deal with the thing.
That's true. That's true. The thing probably won't happen. I kind of wonder if this hasn't given the broadcasters and MLB itself.
I think the thing won't happen. I think the thing won't happen because we're in a bubble.
Yep.
Right. Limited fans. The likelihood, like I think they're in Texas, right? The likelihood that you're gonna get those Atlanta fans showing up for that from Georgia, right? It's small.
Yep.
So I think we might be okay.
Yep. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. So then it's just the Tomahawks. I wish they had alternate jerseys that didn't have that kind of stuff on it.
Yes.
A note about Ronald Acuna Jr.
Okay.
Finally got his name. I figured we have Marcell Ozuna.
Yes.
And then there is actually a Roberto Osuna somewhere out there. And so,
he's an Astro, and we kind of don't really like that dude. He's
okay, right. So I finally got Ronald
very nice to ladies.
Name right, and he is spectacular, isn't he? And he's so photogenic, isn't he? And he's just so strong and.
He's like he's one of these players who's like the new modern face of baseball. Like,
he is.
This dude, Major League Baseball should just run general commercials, general ads that involve him and Nando, right? And Cody Bellinger and these guys. They should just run ads talking about these guys, showing them do what they do. We're not even selling sandwiches. We're not selling cars. We're not selling insurance. Hey, we're Major League Baseball. These are the guys in our sport. That's what they ought to be doing because Ronald Acuna Jr. is fantastic.
Yes. Oh, he is. He is in every possible way. And he almost got secret celebrity boyfriend status this past week. But it took me a little while to figure it out. He was wearing yellow sleeves.
Okay.
And on that he had red, I think they were like crimson red armbands.
Okay.
And I think he also had red and yellow batting gloves. The color scheme was out of this world. And that's what I love about Nando. That's what I love about my boyfriend Nando is I just love how gloriously decorated he is. I mean, never mind that he's this awesome baseball player. So is Ronald Acuna Jr. I wouldn't say that either one of them is more awesome than the other. It's just that Tatis has better decorative sense.
Yes.
To my mind, it's freer. And it's a different style, I know, but there's just something so liberated, free, emancipatory about Tatis that Acuna Jr. just seems more like Sledgehammer. It's not a bad thing. It's an amazing look, but just for the first half of the game, it just TV, my eyes, my expectations, it looked to me like he was wearing pink and yellow.
Oh, all right.
I couldn't see it as red until we were deeper in the game and I started to realize, oh, that's not pink, that's red, which is more of a Braves color, right? I mean, I thought the pink was kind of odd, but
yes,
Nando wears pink for his mom because it's her favorite color.
Yes.
It's his way of telling her, hey, from 2,000 miles or 4,000 miles, whatever it is, to the DR. And so it was within the realm of possibility that Ronald Acuna Jr. was wearing pink, but he wasn't. He was wearing red. So he fell a couple notches for me then, because the thing is with Nando, I just happen to really like the pink yellow look. I happen to really like that. And the first time I ever even saw Tatis Jr., that's what I saw was his yellow sleeve and his pink armband.
Okay.
And I locked in on it because that's a color scheme that I have used myself for a long time. That speaks volumes to me about strength and I've imbued it with my own sense of strength and with safety and with love and so when I saw it on Nando, that's what I saw, and that's why I fell for it in the way I did. I didn't even know who he was, and I didn't even know he was amazing. All of that came later. So when I was looking at Ronald Acuna Jr. and I thought he was wearing pink and yellow, I was crazy about him. But he came down a little bit in in stature for me when I realized it was red. Red and yellow, that's
All right.
okay. Yellow is not pink.
I've done a screen share.
Oh yeah, here we go.
And I'm sharing a comparison between Ronald Acuna Jr. and Fernando Tatis Jr.
Oh, nice. They're same age.
See them side by side. They are the same age. 26 home runs for Acuna and 64 RBI. So that beats Tatis. They have the same number of stolen bases.
Yep.
Tatis has the higher batting average and strikes out less.
Yes.
And his on-base plus slugging for Tatis is like 50 points higher.
Yes.
However, Ronald Acuna Jr. has 239 total bases to 197 for Acuna Jr. for Tatis, which is to say he's hitting a lot of doubles.
Yes, right? But also look at their games.
Yes, 111 games. Okay, yep.
Yeah, versus 84. So
versus 84. Well, last year Tatis got injured.
Right.
He had a catastrophic injury for 1 year. Yes.
So they might be. Let me see. So if their plate appearances were on par.
Yep.
And if their at bats were on par, I think my Nando would just be spanking.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Acuna Jr. in the stats. That doesn't mean that their value is different.
Right.
It just means, it just means that it's time cumulative numbers, we'll see what next year looks like. Of course, it could be anything. Anything can happen.
Because this is effectively comparing like the closest of like kind of full year situations, right? Like,
yep.
Yeah, it's not really including 2020 because we don't have a full year of 2020 is what this website seems to be doing.
Yep. But there are things that are pretty independent of numbers of plate appearances, like OPS plus. They're very close. They're almost the same player, right?
Which tells you what kind of player they actually are, basically. Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. So those. We'll say those guys are my two favorite players in baseball, except that and we could pick on the Padres.
You know what we're gonna do? Wait.
The Catholic Church was kind of horrible in California, so we could pick on the Padres for being the Padres.
You could.
It's not as like obviously horrible as having a tomahawk or calling yourself the Braves, but still.
Entirely.
Nobody has a squeaky clean moral record. No human being has a squeaky clean moral record. I diluted my I purposefully diluted my color scheme story about the armbands because I don't want to freak anybody out.
As to like how deep in the woods you can get.
Yeah, I can. I really can. I probably made it into this totally boring report on pink and yellow, but I realized, pull up, Beth. Don't go any further than this.
Mookie Betts, compared to Ronald Acuna Jr., is an on-base percentage of 927 to 987 for Acuna for this year.
Yeah, just for this year.
I figured out how to get their 2020 stats.
Okay.
And let's see. Yeah, I think that's what it wants me to log in or subscribe if I want to compare all three of them, and I'm not doing that.
Yeah, we don't have to subscribe to things. There's too much out there.
I'll subscribe by Wednesday. I'm not subscribing today.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So on another topic, before we pick tonight's winner and the World Series, on another topic, why is there a shakeup in the Marlins?
That's a little weird, right? Like they made the playoffs, they got out of the first round, they beat the whole COVID thing, and then now they're switching their executives around. Like that seems a little odd. So there must be something in that story we don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like what someone either, I don't know if dude was like a complete pain to work with. I don't know if it was like, man, we would have gone further had you listened to me. Like I don't know if it's that. But I don't know if Derek Jeter is just like, nah, this ain't happening. Not you, buddy. Or sometimes, you know what it is? Like sometimes a guy gets moved or is asked to step down because upper executives have an idea of a different guy they want in that job who's about to become available.
Yes. Or people that come sniffing around him because the Marlins did so well.
Yeah.
And he said, before I start interviewing for other jobs,
I want to be
let me
available.
just do the right thing by you guys instead.
Yeah, because I'm leaving. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
If somebody offers me that like top executive gig, I'm going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be available when Theo Epstein finally steps down from the Cubs. I want to be available for that gig. Because Theo is going, I think he's sticking around for like one more year, and then he's leaving more than likely, you know. Right. And the Cubs will be probably moving Jed Hoyer up to the top executive move, and then they'll be hiring another general manager, who I kind of wanted to be the dude from the Washington Nationals. I've already eyeing that guy, but I don't know if he wants, again, a lateral move, right? Yeah. When the Cubs hired Theo Epstein, there was a whole thing that went around about who the best assistant GMs were in the league,
right?
And the Cubs ended up with Jed Hoyer because he and Theo had a relationship. And I remember thinking, this is actually good information to know. Who are the next level of guys ready to become executives? And to me, now I'm going to be looking at this because I want to know if there are any African American assistant GMs and things like that, right? Because it's a problem in baseball. Baseball should, to me, become a blacker sport. And for sure, if you just keep shuffling around the same damn guys, right? We're going to have a problem here in terms of the diversity of our sport. We have a problem now. I want to fix that problem. Right. This week, the White Sox fired Rick Renteria.
Yes.
Right? Which was I have to imagine it had everything to do with how the team collapsed down the stretch and how they did in the playoffs. Okay, so I get that the White Sox are saying we had growing pains. Rick had growing pains. We didn't do as well as we thought we were going to do. But they fired that dude when the young players were stepping up, and I thought the stepping up due in part to his leadership. Poor Rick Renteria. Here comes another hot shot ass manager's going to come in here and take this team to the next level, which is exactly what happened with the Cubs.
Oh yeah,
manager here. That's how Joe Madden got hired. So I kind of felt bad for the guy. But
it's like taking the cap off the jar, isn't it? Like Rick is the one who loosens it.
Yes, he loosens the cap, and somebody else I got the pickles.
Away, give it to somebody else.
I got the pickles. What the shit, man? And then all week long in this town, there are two names that kept getting mentioned, and the two names that kept getting mentioned are AJ Hinch, the suspended former manager of the Astros because suspended because of the cheating scandal, and Tony effing La Russa.
Oh, wow. Are you kidding me? La Russa?
La Russa. How in the hell is Tony La Russa's name coming up? That dude's 79 years old.
I know.
You mean to tell me we got a major market, up and coming young Cuban team, right? Coming up here and ready to make a move, and you're going to bring Tony La Russa back? No, I don't want to see that.
No, that would really kind of spoil the White Sox for a little while. I mean, I get over it, but as long as the cameras didn't show La Russa in the dugout. I don't see that happening, though. I don't know. I have a
apparently the word is the owner of the team wants La Russa.
Oh.
But the president of baseball operations and the GM, they want AJ Hinch or someone else. The whole point was Rick Hahn, a GM, he gave a press conference and he said, what we're actually looking for is somebody with recent playoff success.
Yes.
Which basically he's spelling AJ Hinch. Right.
Well, that's a fair thing to want too. If you want to go to the next step, get somebody with recent experience. I mean, that's true all over.
Don't hire a guy who hasn't even managed since 2009.
Yeah. I have to ask you something. This is just a suspicion that haunts me.
I like it already.
It started with comments made about Dexter Fowler, and from the front office, right? Or from above, I don't know which. And then it kind of got more serious to my mind when Marcell Ozuna was not signed for another year.
So what we're talking about here is the suspicion of what we can refer to as the problems that we have with the St. Louis racists.
Yes.
This is word around baseball is this, yes.
I mean, I hate to say, oh, I think that's racist when I have very little to go.
Oh, no. But it has effectively been stated by players and possibly and more people in the media that St. Louis seems to have a problem with dark players.
Yes, it does. It really does.
Yeah. Dexter Fowler, who the Chicago Cubs have not been the same since the dude left. Right. Everyone wanted that guy to come back to Chicago. Right. Every team he's ever played for said that man is a class act.
Right.
how did the St. Louis Cardinals have a problem with Dexter Fowler?
Right.
You know,
Well,
no one has a problem with Dexter
didn't
Fowler.
they like basically, it wasn't even like an accusation, it was just a description that they called him lazy?
Yep.
I mean, that's like even like out of the racist playbook, you know? I mean, that's not even.
Like, what did they call him?
Oh, bleak. They called him lazy.
They called Dexter Fowler lazy. Who it was Joe Madden who said of Dexter Fowler with the Cubs, where you go, we go.
Yeah.
He's referring to Dexter Fowler as a leadoff man who was literally the engine that kept the team moving.
Yeah.
You can't call a man like that lazy.
No, you can't.
You can't be lazy and your engine.
Right. Right.
Really? Like, that's not a thing.
Right. Yeah, you can only call Dexter Fowler lazy if that is like your ingrained perception that Black people are lazy, you know, which is like, that's like British colonialism. It's like, you people really haven't moved beyond that.
Not in St. Louis is the problem.
That St. Louis has a problem.
And you also you don't want Marcell Ozuna. Really?
Yeah.
Right? I'll take Marcell Ozuna.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's like, come on, man. I really want your team to lose. Stop being so good, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, and you know, and this really points to a real problem with being frustrated with a team and being angry with a team when you see, you know, this obvious, and I mean, really, you know, if you know the history of Georgia, such a hideous slap on Native Americans to call yourself the Braves and do all this disgusting stuff with tomahawks. But on the other hand, it seems to me like a team that really gets how awesome it is to just see players for their skills.
Yes.
And to develop them, you know, let them be free to be who they are.
Yes.
And look what you get winners. Yep. You know, so come on, you know, it's really hard because it's like, okay, here's an organization that promotes the value and the energy of Black players, and yet at the same time is horrible about Native Americans. That's really tough. And I just, you know what I end up doing is I end up blaming the players. I don't know where else to go, because it seems to me that this Braves team could say to the organization, you know what, we're not doing that. We're just not.
You know what will fix this? Okay, we're going to fix baseball. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to eliminate the draft.
Okay.
Right? If you eliminate the draft, it means every team has to negotiate with any players it wants on an even level.
Yes.
Right? The only thing that will change is some teams will have more money than other teams, but a player can then say, I don't want to play for you because you have a racist mascot.
Yeah.
I don't want to play for you because you have a lousy reputation. It will make teams accountable to the future stars of the league.
Yeah.
Right? And the current stars of the league, honestly. You know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Since we have a draft, it means that Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, Max Fried, these guys who are good guys have to play with a symbol on their shirts that if they had a choice, they probably wouldn't have done.
Right.
It might also mean they'd all want to go to the Yankees, right? But like, all you have to do then is just, you know, somebody who isn't the Yankees and perhaps is not the Atlanta baseball team goes to them and says, hey, we're in Colorado. Do you like weed?
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah. I noticed you like to pad your hitting stats. How would you like to hit?
You know, eliminate the draft. You know, and I like the draft in most sports except for baseball anyway, because like you draft a player in Major League Baseball, and Major League Baseball then hides the player in the minor leagues for 5 years. Right. And then every year we're like, hey, so how's Beth Davies Stafka doing down there? Oh, well, they're still in AA. Yeah. They gotta learn some patience. They strike out too much. COVID happens and you don't have any minor leagues. And it turns out, guess what? The minor league kids can actually play baseball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think in other sports, I love the draft because I like sort of futures casting, right? I do like it. In baseball, it's like, man, it only matters to you if your team is drafting 1st through 5th,
right?
You know, and you're building for the future. If you're the Dodgers every year, man, I can't track who the hell they drafted and why. Right. They're drafting late,
right?
You know? It doesn't matter to me,
right? So okay, so they said this year that the Marlins they have the most Black players in baseball.
Yes.
Now that's like something I don't notice because I watch the Marlins because you like them.
Yes.
But not a whole lot registers because I just got them on because Terry likes them. The two teams that to me just like look really Black are the Braves and the White Sox.
Yes. And this is also because of like Afro Cuban, Afro Latino players, right? Like, so you, to the eye of the average fan, they will think baseball is blacker than it actually is because they are seeing black people. They just aren't seeing black Americans.
Right.
So that's the part that's kind of like the trippy thing. Even growing up, I thought like Sammy Sosa was black. Like I thought he was an African American. And then I found out where he was from and I was like, really? I don't know anything about the Dominican, right? I didn't know growing up. Like Chicago is not a city that has a big Dominican population. You will meet some at some point in your travels across our city, but we're not New York.
Right.
You know, like I learned more about, like, I worked at a company that had like a significant Latino employee presence, and you would get into these like conversations about your favorite baseball. I made more $5 bets in the late 80s and early 90s about who's going to hit more home runs, my Ken Griffey Jr. or Juan Gonzalez, and you know these guys, right?
Yeah.
Or Ivan Rodriguez, and it's because the Puerto Rican employees and the Puerto Rican population of Chicago, they were very clued in on who was Puerto Rican in Major League Baseball. Right?
Yeah.
The Mexican employees and Mexican population was very clued in back then because baseball still mattered who the Mexican players were, right? But Chicago doesn't have a huge Haitian or Dominican population. So like we have them. So, but it's not like there's no Dominican neighborhoods.
Right. Okay.
In Chicago, right? There's no Dominican town. There's no little Haiti. And if there is, some Dominican or Haitian fan can, you know, hit me on Twitter and tell me, but I don't know where it is, right? I know a lot about our city, you know, but I also know that like sometimes like here, like I live in Evanston, right? And there's a Haitian church. Like Evanston is like the city of churches. Like you can't throw like an incredibly soft orange over your shoulder in this town and not hit a church where I live, right? We have a church for everything. We have an Indian, as in from India, Catholic church offshoot around the corner from my house.
Oh, wow.
There is a church every 50 yards in this town, right? I did not know we had a Haitian church, and I had been past it so many times. And then when I realized it was the Haitian church, I was like, oh my God, that is the Haitian church. Everyone is represented here, right? In terms of the neighborhood, I think that our Haitian population might be spread out amongst our suburbs.
Oh yeah.
Right? But like in New York, there are specific and distinct areas where, man, these folks are represented and they know it.
Yeah.
And in baseball, we're full of Dominicans and now Cubans and other Latin American players. We are not so filled with black players. And it means it ends up in a situation where if you're just watching the game, you think you see brown people. So you think we have black players, but when we talk about black players, we're talking about an African-American experience, right? And we're not denying opportunity to other players like our MVP, right?
Yeah.
Jose Abreu. We're not denying people opportunities. We don't want to do that. We're saying market this sport because baseball was freedom to African-Americans.
Right.
For decades, right? And now you've basically allowed basketball and football to trump you by you just not really, you don't care.
You know, I've always wondered, so this is helpful to me. I've never really known, you know, from how from an African-American point of view, how the differences between African-American and Afro-Caribbean players is perceived. Yeah. They talked about that a little bit on the pregame show with it's Granderson, Rollins, and Pedro Martinez, right?
Yes.
And it was a really, really interesting conversation, but it was about history as opposed to like right now.
Yes.
You know? So I know you're already talking about that, but I just wanted to interject that this is helpful to me in order to try to see things more from an African-American perspective. Because, you know, from a white perspective, it's like we just see a bunch of black faces, right?
Yes.
And what I need is for somebody, a journalist, to walk up to any one of these guys and talk to them before I know anything about where they're from or what their story is, what their experience is. And even then, because a journalist has talked to them, I'm getting a very individual experience.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is overall. The only time I ever felt like I heard something super honest was you know, when Adam Jones had said baseball's a white man's game.
Yeah.
And what I heard in that, and I could be right or wrong, is that for the most part, not 100%, but say 98% of the owners are white.
Yep.
And
the general managers.
yeah, and the general managers, and maybe even the assistant GM,
Yep.
we'll find that out. And that's I mean, I can see where Adam Jones might have said, look, that really changes how we talk about things and what we tell the world. It really changes, because possibly it's kind of a chilling situation, right?
Yep.
Like, mind your place.
Yep.
And I think that if you look at the Yankees organization, I think it's fair to say that there is a tendency by owners to pretty much tell everybody to mind their place. But it's one thing to tell Alex Bregman to mind his place, because his place is very elevated. He's the son of a senator or something. Minding his place means doing whatever he wants.
Yep. Whatever the hell he feels like. Yep.
Whereas telling Adam Jones to mind his place is to say, hey, you're going to Japan, goodbye.
Yes.
You're too influential.
Adam Jones, who's like an all-star Gold Glover, like a solid player for many years, playing in a very black city.
Yep.
Right. Adam Jones played in Baltimore. Right. I don't know if the only blacker city is Atlanta. Right. Like you, when you tell Adam Jones to mind his place, you are very much at, shut up and play ball. You are very much at, we're the owners and you're not.
Right.
We own you. That's what you're basically saying here, right? You're our property. No one wants to hear from you.
Right.
And Adam Jones had a little bit of a reputation at times of kind of being a bit of a loose cannon earlier in his career. So he had that kind of stigma going for him. But when he's actually saying something that's important, suddenly it's like, oh wait, as he grows up, maybe we ought to be listening to Adam Jones a little bit.
Yeah.
And baseball doesn't really want that.
Yeah. So far, in my entire history as a baseball fan, and my first World Series was '85. So I've been at this. There is not a player alive playing that I have had more respect for than Adam Jones, because he was not only a great player, and he was not only just had an air of dignity about him, but it was his air of charity.
Yes.
That I mean, that's always going to draw me in. If you care about something way bigger than yourself and your stats and your career, because you can care about those things 100%, and just have a bigger sense of the world and understand that you're in one, which is what Adam Jones had going for him. His world was very, very big, and he was in it, and he cared. And he was articulate about it. And I wanted to be like him in every possible way that I could think of. I just wanted to be like Adam Jones. And so I wanted to understand what
you got to learn to play center field.
Well, as a lefty, I mean, I can be fast. I can be very fast. It's just that I would probably have to do some strength training so I could get the ball into the infield.
You got at least throw it to the second baseman.
Yeah, just get it to the second baseman. I still think I'd probably be better off as a pitcher, but I throw EFIS until they took me off the mound.
Yes, absolutely.
E5, I wonder.
E5.
So is there like, so what is just, from your perspective, which I know is your individual perspective, but is there a sense of exclusion, I suppose, that so many of the black faces of baseball are actually from Cuba, Dominican Republic, they're not American.
I don't think even from my point of view, and even from the point of view of other black people, I think that the issue is that they're not even watching the game to notice that. Okay. Right? They've lost so many black viewers that it'd be one thing if black people were saying, man, we're all the actual brothers, and why do I why am I still looking at Dominicans and Cubans and Haitians, right? It's not even that. It's that they're the path to entry into Major League Baseball is to be drafted and then sit for 6 years on the farm and then come up, right? Where if I'm a high school junior or sophomore, junior, or senior, and I'm being looked at by scouts of 3 sports, I at least know that in 2 of those sports, I am on someone's television within 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Like I don't have to wait 6. If I'm a high school senior and baseball is looking at me, and I'm also the University of Kentucky's looking at me, I will be on someone's television next year.
Okay.
If I am going to play football or baseball and I am trying to get to the pros, all I have to do in football is play 2 years, and I can possibly be drafted if I leave early. If I play 3, fine, I get a higher draft position, but I will be seen in order for there to be a chance at me making my money to get me out of Compton, California, or Detroit, or the south side or west side of Chicago, or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
In baseball's case, it's not even that what they're asking me to do is prove it. It is, I need to be paid now, and what will help my family the best might need to be more than $50,000 or $60,000 a year.
Yeah, absolutely. And homelessness, and
yes,
not enough food. And I mean, the minor leagues are so abusive.
The athletic gap versus educational gap for providing for a family when you're a young person is, I can get a college degree and perhaps get a job, make a living wage. My expenses are just the expenses of whatever it costs for me to live, right?
Yeah.
If the reason you're trying to make it as an athlete is whatever the other alternatives are, this is your job.
Yeah.
Right. And you need that job to perhaps support more people. If you're Black, right, you might need that job to support more people than just yourself.
Okay.
Right. You are supporting any number of siblings. You're supporting possible parents. You may be supporting children.
Right.
And trying to support 7 people on a $60,000 a year job for 6 years is incredibly difficult to do.
Yeah.
So if someone says, hey, don't worry about this, come and play for Alabama, right? We'll take care of your family. We just won't talk about that. Right? We'll yada, yada, yada over how we're going to do it. You know, and you play, or come and play basketball at Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Arizona, play for 1 year, your rookie contract in the NBA will be more than what you would have gotten in baseball for sure. Your signing bonus in football will be more than what you would have been paid in a year.
Right.
If you're a really good player. So most players, I think most young Black athletes are gambling on themselves. They're betting on themselves that they just can't afford to wait for however long it is before there's a spot for you on a major league, roster, or before you can prove that you're outstanding in AAA to be called up in September, right? Your financial situation needs to be, your status and financial situation needs to be a little bit secure. So that's why I think we have this thing. But if we didn't have a draft, right, where an outstanding guy looking to basically who's high school senior is saying, I'm ready right now, because what happened in the NBA to change things was at one point in the 90s, they started just drafting high school players. There was only 1 or 2 of these high school players who were any good, like Hall of Fame level good, which is Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant. Everybody else was kind of a bust. Tracy McGrady was good, right? But like there are very few Tracy McGrady's, Kevin Garnett's, and Kobe Bryant's. Everybody else was somebody that really should have gone to college. But suddenly the NBA is taking high school players, which watered down the talent level, which watered down the competition, which they took a bunch of European players, the same situation. You made it so it was easier to survive in the NBA because now we're not bringing in seasoned, experienced guys. We're bringing in guys who really aren't as good, right? And in the future, what it means is down the road, now we have opened up, we've changed how the competition works here, right? We've changed it. So in baseball, if this happens, you're going to end up with a lot more younger players. You're going to end up with older players cycling out. Your game will change. It will become a more offensive game, faster game. The youth are going to bring the fun in, right? You can't stop that. Once you let the kids in, it's their game now, right? It's their game, right? And now Black guys looking at this game are going to say, more than likely say, now I don't need the wear and tear on my body. I don't got to get hit in the head. Right, I ain't got to tear my ACL, trying to like get triple doubles every night.
Right,
I can play baseball and I can chill. I can, my season's gonna be long, but like the game is just a different kind of game.
Yeah,
right? I think you would have more. Your African American involvement would increase, but for sure would increase if you got more Black managers, more Black GMs.
Okay, well, it sounds like you kind of need both, right?
Yep.
So I guess what's the easiest win? Because baseball is so conservative.
They're not getting rid of that draft, that's for sure.
I mean, that'll just, I mean, that's the long game to make that kind of a fix. It sounds like we need it, but
baseball would have to admit it.
Right, it would have to admit it, and I don't, the owners probably won't, because race problem. So So having the GMs in place and the assistant GMs in place could do something, but they're still going to have to tell these kids, yeah, but we're going to, keep you down here and not pay you much while we suck up all your service time.
Yep.
Service time, right? And so they still don't have anything to sell young players.
Football doesn't have a service time issue.
Yeah.
So
in fact, it used to be. I don't want to give up and say, well, this is such a great fix for everybody. It's a great fix for fans because you get a funner game. It's a great fix for baseball because it'll attract new fans because it's a fun game. It'll be great for players because they'll have more options. They'll actually get to play and have a good time. But I mean, there's so many wins just spilling out of this, right? But it doesn't sound like it's worth it to hope for it.
Remember, baseball has to admit they got an issue first.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be even in the NFL, it'd be like, oh, we just drafted you. We're going to let you sit a couple years while the older guys play. And you can learn the game, right? Now it's like, screw that. We just drafted you. You're getting in there.
Let's play ball.
That changes the makeup of your sport.
Yeah.
It just does.
So that's you know what? This is fruitful. I mean, the only weapon I have for anything is words, right?
Yep.
That's all I have. And I know that, my goodness, Howard Bryant, I mean, he's written amazing stuff on this and he's such a good writer. Yeah. But also just saying, well, Howard Bryant has to do all the writing and he'll fix things. Well, no, he won't. So This sounds to me like it would be a really fun thing to write about.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me, because it is, I mean, words are a good weapon, I mean, if there's anything I could do or we could do, it would be to make baseball admit there's a problem.
Right.
Let's do that.
Step one. We can do that.
Okay.
All right, Legion of Fan. We have just saved baseball.
We have
fixed its problems.
Yep. We started small with the Twins.
We did. That is true.
Now
we started with the Minnesota Twins.
And what are we going to fix next week? Now, World Series next week. Okay, so we got to pick tonight. Yep. I'm picking the Braves. I don't want to, but I think that Atlanta team is going to win tonight.
I agree.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's a slam dunk.
Because the Braves are absolutely not throwing a rookie out there tonight who's going to give up 11 to 15 runs in the first inning. So. That ain't happening again.
They are throwing out a rookie, but he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And he's a seasoned rookie, so to speak.
Yes.
And I just don't know if the Dodgers have options for the mound. I mean, the Dodgers offense could take them a really, really, really long way, but so can the Braves. And so if it's a slugfest, we all win.
Yep.
And I don't know. I'll be working while it's on. So what about World Series? I know they'll probably still be playing. Braves.
Picking the Rays.
Looking at the Rays. Good.
I'm looking at the Rays. Yeah. Picking the Rays for the World Series.
The Rays have that. I mean, well, they're Rays. I mean, they just have this sense of wide-eyed, happy. Check us out, we're winning. Of course,
we'll be watching World Series games because those are going to be in the evening, so I'll be able to watch them after work.
Okay, so one thing before we go, nice little anecdote that I think you'll enjoy is that I am going to miss seeing Wednesday night's game live, and the reason is that a few weeks ago, my husband said to me, do you want to go see Stevie Nicks? And I said, not on your life. And
that is not where I saw this going, but okay.
Yeah, not a fan. I had Stevie Nicks Fleetwood Mac is just like plug my ears, right? And I'm serious. and yet Steve loves them and he loves Stevie Nicks. And so it turns out that I'm like, how can we see Stevie Nicks? I mean, there's a pandemic.
During COVID, yes.
Right. Well, it turns out that there's a movie that was made out of 2 of her concerts. And I guess it's a documentary, so there's like voiceovers and stuff like that. And it's going to be at the movie theater, which is actually open. The one near our house is actually open. Okay. And I'm like, oh man, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes of Stevie Nicks. I'm thinking, but then I thought about all the times.
Fleetwood Mac antics are actually kind of like more than their music. Like the history of this band is almost fascinating. It's like, it's intense. True. There's like 5 people who in different combinations just couldn't stand each other, but couldn't stop sleeping with each other. Like, it's like, man.
And couldn't stop making music together that my husband loves. And I do have to honor that. Just because I don't like Fleetwood Mac doesn't mean nobody should. It's just, I don't, and, but yeah. It's like,
what musical artist could have a movie that you would drag him to that he wouldn't want to see? Like, who would you want to go see? And he'd be like, oh man, I guess I gotta go.
gosh, I mean, the list is really long. I was,
He's dragging you to Fleetwood Mac. So who would you be dragging him to?
yeah, who would I be dragging him to? Boy, that is really, really hard. Probably the Wailers.
Okay.
Because I like the music, but also I would love to know more about their whole story. You know, I would love to know about Bunny Wailer and who he was and where he came from. Like a lot about Bob Marley. We know a lot
Sure.
about Bob
Absolutely.
Marley.
Yes.
What do we know about Bunny Wailer? And
Yeah.
you know, I have one of his albums and I love it. He's a very sunshiny guy.
Yeah.
You know, and Peter Tosh is the opposite. But man, you know, he had a way of channeling his anger into some of
Yes.
the most profound statements on theology and on the human condition. I mean, you know, Marley was very elevating, you know, so you got these three kind of really different personalities, and
Yes.
you know, and then there's just the backup singers alone, you know. That would be an amazing
Who
story.
were also fascinating talents. Yes.
Yeah, so plenty of Bob Marley stuff, and we've seen it all, and okay, you know, we've seen that, but something about the Wailers. And would he go with me? Yes, because he would say, I don't even want to hear 5 minutes of that, but I'll do it out of solidarity with you.
Yes.
And I know that's what he'd say.
I think it's the same thing me and my wife have when it comes
Yeah.
to concerts and music. It's okay, I'm going, but then, you know, I owe you one, right? Like,
Okay.
like,
Yeah, so
yeah.
what would she drag you to? What would you kindly, out of solidarity,
So
go to?
the times in which I've gone to concerts that were my wife's choice and just been like, all right, I'm going, but I know I'm going because of the concerts I've made you go to, right? One of her favorites is Rufus Wainwright.
Yeah.
And I went to that concert and I just kept thinking to myself, so what I do in cases like this is I watch the band. Like if I don't like the principal person,
Yeah.
the band tends to fascinate me.
Yeah.
It was one of these times which he didn't bring his band, it was just him. And then I had to be like, okay, I got to find something in this because I just dealt with it. You know what I mean? Like he's a good songwriter, but his voice just makes me think he's a man that doesn't actually like singing. You know? It's a very unique sound, but Lisa loves it. So it's like, all right, I did that. And the other thing was, it was at my favorite music venue.
Okay.
In Chicago to go see live music. So like, I was like, I want to go to that theater.
Yeah.
To see anybody, right? Yeah. So I'm going. And it was actually a good show. He did pretty well. And then for her, I think I probably dragged her to see Dream Theater like 5 times. And she's not into progressive metal like I am, but she definitely went. Last year, in fact, it wasn't last year, 2019. It was possibly, well, maybe it was 2019 last year. It was they had just released a new album and they were coming to Chicago to tour for this album. And it wasn't just, and the thing with Dream Theater is their shortest song might be 6 minutes, right? It's, you know, it's one of these bands. So for my birthday or Christmas, she had bought tickets for me and they kind of came in like January. And so it's cold in Chicago.
Yeah.
And we went down there and like Chicago Januaries are just not fun. And you end up like, you're trying to like not overdress because the concert's going to be hot. Yeah. Right. But it's like you are like, you can't be like just in a little light jacket because it's fucking January in Chicago.
Yeah. And
you know what it was? This was January 2019 when this was, and I know it because the very next month I dragged a different friend to a different concert that he had to grin and bear it with. And I wouldn't have happened this year in 2020. So this is 2019. So for sure, I have the benefit of that concert was it was the Chicago Theater, which is like a historic building where if you go see a concert there, you get to sit in a chair, right? So that part was to Lisa's favor. She didn't have to on bad knees stand up for like 4 hours and watch like Dream Theater play 12-minute long songs and not just play their new stuff, but it was also the 20th anniversary of one of their most legendary albums that they would be playing in its entirety, right? Which is, yeah, it was all about past life regression and shit like that. Lisa slept soundly next to me, right? While I was at my favorite band's concert and it was fine. Because when we got to leave, we got to take the elevator up to the level where our seats were and take the elevator back down. And, you know, I did Lisa the favor and I didn't make any friends at the concert. Right?
Well, it sounds to me It sounds to me like Lisa really one-upped me there because she went with you out of solidarity to sit through or snooze
But
through a concert.
it just meant that, like, you know,
She'd buy you the tickets.
When Lisa would next say,
Yeah.
"Oh, look who's Andrew Bird's coming to town," you know, I got to be like, okay, Andrew Bird's coming to town.
Oh, that's another one. I would probably drag Steve off to see Talking Heads, and he'd probably be really, you know. But
yeah, I'd be down for seeing the Talking Heads. I'd be all right with
totally that. Right. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, Lisa, even Lisa would like to see the But my problem with the Talking Heads is I would have to, like, I would take a deep breath because I got burned on the Talking Heads. A couple years ago, I was doing an outdoor festival in the neighborhood where my shop is.
Yeah.
And it's one of these like Saturday and Sunday things. And they hire these cover bands. And I might love the Talking Heads, but I do not love a Talking Heads cover band playing for an hour and a half. Let me tell you. On a Saturday morning, I get real tired of that shit real fast. I didn't know I had this limit, but apparently I do.
Well, I said, because I know how many times Steve has gone to a baseball game with me because I didn't have anybody to go with.
It's like when I drag Lisa to a pro wrestling show.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And
so Lisa's rule now is for heavy metal shows and pro wrestling, it is ask every friend you have first.
Yeah.
And if nobody will go, I'll go.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, and my girlfriend Barbara will go to baseball games with me, but if she's tied up, you know, then Steve becomes the default, and he goes with me out of solidarity. He just doesn't want me to have to go by myself. So I said, okay, I'll go see Stevie Nicks with you. And the one thing I'm hoping is that the last time I did this, it was the Linda Ronstadt movie, and that changed everything for me about Linda Ronstadt. Now I still don't want to listen to it, but I absolutely love her. So I'm thinking maybe I'll have a similar, at least maybe Stevie Nicks, the person, the story will have a better, I don't know, whatever. I'm going to miss a World Series game. So he, I
forgot that's the point here.
Yeah, that's the point. So my choice was Wednesday or Sunday, and I chose Wednesday because I said if the series goes to Sunday, the games are going to be that more interactive.
Screw that. Yeah, you got to, it's the Wednesday you'd rather give up.
Yeah, so there you go. So I'll miss Wednesday. Like, you really needed to know that because I'll catch up. But I thought I like the story. See, I like that. I like hearing what spouses do for each other.
Yeah, that's one of the ones. That's it.
Yeah.
When it's concerts, I'm going to, like, you know, shred metal guys and thrash bands and prog bands and Swedish symphonic death metal.
And I'm just not going to go to a concert. I like movies, you know. I mean, I don't really need to go to a concert, but I like if it intellectually engages me, like Wailers, that's religious music. I'm interested in religious music, you know. I'm interested in religion, so I would see a movie about people who made religious music. Let me put it that way, you know. But yeah, no, Steve is he's into music and he loves Fleetwood Mac, so we are going.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right, Beth.
All right.
Sign us out.
Okay, well, listen, everybody, there's going to be a really, really good baseball game tonight. There are great players on that Atlanta team, and I have no doubt, I have faith in my heart that if they had control over their jerseys, they would have something way cooler than what they've got. So much cooler.
They'd be the Atlanta Fire.
They'd be the Atlanta Fire. You know, they'd be the Atlanta Wings, right? Weren't they going to be the Atlanta
Wings?
Yeah, so they'd have like flaming wings in pink and yellow on their jerseys, and it would be just amazing, you know. So, but anyway, watch those guys for being exciting. Root for the Dodgers, crazy enough, but they're the underdogs, and then enjoy the World Series. And we will catch you either at the tail end of the World Series or when there's just a little bit left.
Right,
and
exactly.
Until that time, watch these people play out of their hearts and turn into the love.
Turn into the love, America.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Beth.
See you soon.
You got it.
Bye.